My grandpa used to work at Ford's back in the 60s and 70s. He told me this story when they first saw a Datsun or a Toyota. I can't exactly remember, but it was the first time they'd ever seen one. And it was such a poorly made car that they all laughed at it and poked fun of it compared to the Aussie equivalents. How long did that last? Japanese cars are now a byword of reliability. Why am I telling you this story? The same thing happened to the Korean cars, Kia, Hyundai. If you guys remember in the late 90s, they were pretty average cars, honestly, but today they are much, much nicer. And the same thing is happening today with the Chinese cars. About 8 years ago, I reckon I was a passenger in a Great Wall Ute, and it was like I was in a ute that was 30 years old. It had a really similar interior to a CE Lancer, and it just looked aged already, and it was brand new. I don't own any Chinese cars. I'm really into my Aussie stuff and some Japanese. However, I find myself tuning more and more into the new car reviews of the Chinese stuff, not necessarily because I'm interested in buying it, but they seem to be one of the only groups that I'm interested in now that are trying new things. They're doing different things, and I don't know, I feel like they're killing it. There is a lot of Chinese cars, and I see a ton of cars that I don't even know what they are. I don't know the brand, like Cherry, or there's one that says Build Your Dreams on the back. I don't know what they are, but one thing I do know is that they're affordable. The video that I saw that sparked this whole thought in my head was the GWM tank review by Car Expert. And I don't know what it was about this video, but it really interested me. This car looks sort of like a Toyota 200 Series Land Cruiser, but it's the size of a Prado. But the interior, I mean, it looks like, I can't believe that that's the same car company of that old ute that I was sitting in 10 years ago. I feel like because these brands are trying to prove themselves, they're really trying everything they can. And not only that, but $60,000 for a new family car is not that crazy anymore. I mean, have a look at the interior on this thing. It is, I honestly can't believe it. Another reason why I think they're really getting their grips on us Aussies is they are just so affordable, and we are really struggling right now as a country in terms of affordability, money. Lots of people are struggling, and these cars are still cheap enough that the average Aussie can probably still go buy a new one, and they are safe. They got a lot of warranty. I mean, can you really go that wrong? They aren't perfect, of course. They do have some issues, and one of the ones that comes to mind immediately is depreciation. However, the ones that I'd be most interested in, the utes, they're not too bad anymore. They used to be awful, and they're still not as good, obviously, as a Hilux or an Amarok or a Triton or anything. Well, maybe not an Amarok. They're not as bad as they were. They are improving. I don't mind the styling as well, because they are trying something different. I don't think it always works, but there's the GWM tank. There's that thing that sort of looks like a Porsche. I can't remember what that's called off the top of my head. And I think there's the 300 tank. It kind of looks like a Suzuki Jimny. They're interesting, and they're interesting to look at, and they do turn heads, because I start seeing so many cars like that now. I don't know what it is, and I start to feel like I'm not in the know, and I'm not a car person when I'm looking at these cars, and I've never seen them before. I will always love my Aussie cars, the Fords, Holdens, and I do drive a Toyota every day, but it's really interesting to see the Chinese cars emerging so fast. About 10 years ago, Top Gear did a segment about the direction of the Chinese cars, and I just watched that the other day, and it's really interesting because the cars are having exponential growth, and it's just, yeah, it's really interesting to see in real time how quickly and how much better they're getting. I'd really be interested to see what the community's response is to this video, and whether they like Chinese cars, and if they've been in them, and what their experience is. I've never really driven one. I don't really have any positive or negative thoughts apart from that really old GWM ute. As that was their first foot in the market, I'd be willing to give them a pass and see what the new GWM is like. But just really interesting to see where the whole market's going.